king, I am not a god, I am Hunkpain!
What's poppin' Tano, and welcome to the ultimate statue guide. Why I'm making this video? Because recently in Jade Shadows update, we received a statue rework in Warframe that changes everything, literally. In this video, I will take you from the basics to the end game. It doesn't matter you are a new player or veteran, you will learn a thing or two. I know I'm a bit late about the video, and a lot of you been asking me, Hank, make a video about it, explain to us what's going on, because we love the way you explain things to us, and here I am. Now, this video may seem a bit boring for the Thanos that likes to copy-paste builds, so this video may be not for you, but for the Thanos that want to learn and want to know everything in Warframe, let's go. And as always, we take beginners friendly approach for Thanos that doesn't know anything about the game or they're trying to learn. Starting from the codex basics. Damage. Now, shields always blue, protects enemies and can regenerate over time. You must destroy it completely before you can damage an enemy health. We'll see about that later on in the video. Armor is like something you can't see, but enemies with armor, their HP will be yellow. Okay, so armor and HP goes together like this in Warframe. All right, so when you take away the armor, the HP will be red, but if there is armor and HP together, enemy will be yellow HP. Simple as that. So armor is worn by enemies to reduce damage to their health. Prepare yourself to do high armor damage as you explore your arsenal. Now, health is how your enemy survives. Destroying all of their health will ensure their demise. That's simple to understand. And the fourth thing we want to add here is Overguard. They don't tell it in the codex, but here you are. Overguard grants additional health protection and knockdown immunity as long as amount remains. Overguard is a special health buffer that grants immunity to most crowd control effects. Works both for you and for the enemy. Now, when we look at this enemy, what we learned here. Now, before that, shield is blue. Health is yellow if it has armor. If it doesn't have armor, it will be red. And this is Overguard, a layer on top of the HP. Simple to understand. So when we look at this enemy, we would totally understand that this enemy has armor in its HP and has Overguard. Simple as that. And now for the damage types. There is 13 damage types in Warframe, starting with the physical ones, which is impact, puncture, and slash. Now, weapons tend to be blend of these types that they can be modded to specialize further. Use this wisely against shielded and armored enemies. Weapon can perform critical strikes for increased damage. Look for mods that enhance this effect. Each damage type has a chance to put a lasting statue effect on your enemies, making them vulnerable. If this happens, you will see the damage type symbol on your HUD, like for example the slash they're showing you right here. Simple as that. So any statue effect you will proc on the enemy, it will be showing on top. So what we learned here, there is 3 statue effects that you can proc on enemies, and we're gonna go through all of them. Don't worry, I know you want to get more details about these. We're gonna get to that in a second. Moving on the next. Now, these are the separated elements, because in Warframe there is, as I said, 13 types. There is 3 physical, which is slash, puncture, and impact, and there is 4 separated elements: heat, electricity, cold, and toxin. And there is 6 combinations you can do with this single element. Starting with heat. Heat damage will burn and second scorch foes. Electricity damage is capable of stunning and damaging enemies. Cold damage will slow down and freeze enemies while increasing the critical damage they take. Toxin damage is effective at damaging an enemy's health. Simple as that. So now your question is, Hank, earlier you said shields need to be taken down to damage the HP based on what they said in the codex, but toxin is different. Toxin will damage their HP and your HP even if you have shield. Simple as that. And we're gonna go through them in details. This is like the basics. Okay, so moving on next. Here, know your enemy. Each enemy faction has different elemental weakness. So now we know every enemy is weak to certain elements and resistances as well. Use the codex scanner for the star chart nodes to learn more about enemy weaknesses to specific damage types. And I'm going to show you that in a second as well. Okay, just now going through them one by one. Now, these are the combined one. Now, if you combine heat with cold, you get blast. Okay, radiation, you combine heat with electricity. Now, if you combine heat with toxin, you get gas. If you combine cold with electricity, you get magnetic. If you combine cold with toxin, you get viral. If you combine electricity with toxin, you get corrosive. And again, we're going to go through them step by, like all the details you need. So this is like the basics that the codex tells you. And now let's dive a bit deeper. The first thing you want to learn in here that the statues are the same statues that you know if you're a returning player. 13 statue effects, 3 physical, 4 elements, and 6 combined elements, the same thing. But they tweaked them, and we're gonna get to that in a second. What changed? Now, before enemies had 13 unique type healths and 13 damage types and statues. It was crazy. You can stop the video right here and you can check this table right here, so you see the Grineer, Corpus, and Facet, and Sentient, and Murmur, what different health and armor and all that kind of thing. So what DE did here, they make all type health just health. It doesn't matter what enemy it is, okay? A Grineer or a Infested, the same health. And any type of armor, it doesn't matter what enemy it is, it's just armor. And any type of shield, it's just shield. Simple as that. But how do you balance things here? So that makes the game like so broken, right? No. What they did is they make certain enemies weak to certain statues and resist other statues. Okay, so how you would know that? There is two ways. When you hover into the element, or they did something very nice that before you start the mission, you can check that specific mission you're going to, enemies are resistant and weak to what. Now the star chart is your friend, as it will tell you what enemies are weak to and what they're resistant to. Also, you can see that in the arsenal. I'm gonna go to that in a second. So, for example, let's pick Venus here, right here. And see Unda. Unda here suggested damage is puncture and magnetic. Meaning, if you take magnetic or puncture, your damage will be multiplicative with just these elements, okay? Your damage will be boosted and multiplied just from these elements. Now, if you take slash, viral, whatever, you can, but it will not be multiplied, the elements. It's just gonna be normal damage like you usually do. But so, what is this Hank exactly? What is this, my friends? Is what you need to worry about isn't what enemies are really weak to. You already know that, okay? Corrosive against Grineer, Toxin against, for example, the Corpus, and so on and so on and so on. What you need to worry about is enemies resisting to something. Because when enemies resisting to something, it's actually the negative multiplicative to half. Means if you do 1 million, it will be 0.5, and we're gonna get to that in a second and how you figure that multiplicative damage. Now, for example, here the Oricene are weak to puncture and viral, means your puncture and viral will do multiplicative damage against this faction, but they're resistant to radiation. So if you take a radiation weapon here, your radiation weapon will do so weak damage because whatever damage you're going to do, it will be negative multiplied. Mean minus 0.5. Simple as that. So if you do 1 million, it will be just 500. It's not that you can't kill enemies, but your damage will descale slowly as enemies will scale. So keep that in mind. So in conclusion, now every enemy you're going to fight, you can take any elements you want. It doesn't matter. But you need to keep in mind that enemies are weak and resistant to certain statues. Now if they're weak to certain statues, your damage will be multiplicative to that status, and if they are resisting certain status, your damage will be weakened, negative multiplicative against that. Now if you go to arsenal right here, equipment, arsenal, and let's check for example my zenith right here, and I go for example to puncture, and you can see that all of them multiplicative. I don't have any like negative multiplicative to any enemies. For example, let's put so toxin and electricity, we combine them, it become corrosive. Now you can see the negative multiplicative I'm talking about. So 1.5 x like multiplicative x 1.5 damage to Grineer, but it's x 0.5 damage to Sentient. In the meaning of, if I do 1 million damage, okay, and I multiply it in 0.5, boom, 500,000. So your damage is cut in half. But if I take 1 million and I multiply it on 1.5, your damage will be 1 million.5. So you get the concept here, okay? So your damage will be boosted multiplicatively against a specific factions that weak to that element, and they will be negatively multiplicative against that enemy if they are resistant to that. But if the enemies are not resisting or weak to that, you will just do your regular damage without worrying about anything. The multiplicative or negative multiplicative, it doesn't matter. And that leads us into a deep dive into what each statue effect does and what is going on. Right, so here we go. So this is slash. It is a physical damage. Now, it has 1.5 multiplicative damage against infested and armor. The slash statue effect temporarily ignores the target's armor and causes them to bleed over time for extra damage. Like, slash is the strongest element in my opinion in Warframe, and then comes the viral and so on and so on. But for me, like, it's really powerful in certain weapons, especially with a high slash or a guarantee proc slash. Okay, now moving on. Puncture here. Okay, what puncture is? Puncture temporarily reduces the target damage output by up to 80% and increase critical chance of damage taken by it 25% with multiple stacks. Now, it is multiplicative damage against Corpus and Orokin. It doesn't have a negative multiplicative against any faction. So you can take puncture whatever you want, and you can take slash whatever you want. Now, here the impact. The impact has multiplicative damage against Grenier and multiplicative damage against Kuva Grenier. Impact, what does? Causes the target to float backward temporarily with repeated stacks, increasing the size and duration of the stagger, so it staggers enemies. For heavy units such as Eximus, it also lowers the Parazon Mercy Kill threshold to 80% of total health with multiple stacks. Okay, so the three physical elements in Warframe, slash, puncture, and impact, they don't have any negative multiplicative damage, so you're good to go with any of them against every single faction in the game. But they have a multiplicative positive damage against certain enemies, so if you take them to them, you will deal more damage. Simple as that. Now let's go with the elements, starting with the single elements, starting with heat. Now heat, what it has, as you can see here, it has a multiplicative damage against infested, but it has a negative multiplicative damage against Kuva Grenier. So everything you're gonna do with heat against this Kuva Grenier will be multiplied in half. 1,500,000, 1,500,000, 50, 25. Simple as that. Now, what heat does? Heat sets enemies on fire, causing them to panic and temporarily reduce their armor up to 50% with multiple stacks. And heat can stack forever, doesn't have a limitation like 10 or whatever. Alright, so Toxin. Toxin 1.5 means multiplicative damage against armor. It doesn't have any negative multiplicative against any faction, mean you can take it wherever you want. Just against the armor you will do more damage with Toxin. Toxin allows damage to bypass enemy shields and deal damage directly to their health over a short duration. To me, Toxin destroyed the magnetic. Totally, like, the Toxin is the worst thing that happened to magnetic. Like, if magnetic can speak and say, oh my god, take the Toxin away from me, because it make magnetic very useless. Because why passing enemy shield and then health to kill them? Just well, you can kill them with Toxin. That's why Toxin is #1 element you take against the Corpus. That's why they didn't put you a multiplicative damage against Corpus, because they already know how broken Toxin it is against the Corpus, and Corpus the enemies that has shield. Okay, but the main, like 99% of them doesn't have armor, only a couple of enemies. Electricity here, it has multiplicative damage against Corpus Amalgam and multiplicative damage against the Murmur. It doesn't have any negative multiplicative against any faction, means it works normally on all the stuff except this, who does more damage. Electricity chains between nearby enemies, temporarily applies a stun effect and dealing damage over time, means it's a damage CC type of element. Now cold, on the other hand, it have a multiplicative damage against sentient. It doesn't have any negative multiplicative against any faction, means you can take it whatever you want. Cold causes enemies to move and attack slower each stack, and will completely freeze for 3 seconds upon reaching 10 stacks. Now this is something new that added. Increase critical damage by 10% on the first stack with an additional 5% per stack. This effect doubles when frozen. Mamma mia, really good stuff. Now Blast here. Okay, Blast has a multiplicative damage against infested Deimos, but a multiplicative negative against the Corpus Amalgam. Now you already know here what we're talking about. Okay, now what it does, created by combination heat and cold, of course. Blast deals 30% of base damage after 1.5 seconds as an explosion at 10 stacks. This is the new rework, alright? At 10 stacks or on death, stacks deal their damage simultaneously to enemies within 5 meters while striking them. Means if you take a weapon that procs that 10 stacks really fast, it will be really a chain reaction of a blast. Now, radiation here, it has a multiplicative damage against sentient, multiplicative damage against the murmur, and negative multiplicative against the Oricane. Now, in case you don't know what is Oricans, Oricans are the corrupted enemies, the corrupted gunners, alright? Or any enemies that corrupted, they name it the Oricane to fall in the category of everything. Now, radiation causes enemies to attack everything nearby, including allies. Means this is like the friendly fire stuff to enemies and to you, of course. For a short duration, confused damage increases up to 550% with multiple stacks. Really powerful element, and this is what it's for. Now, gas, on the other hand, it received a small tweak, but mainly visual. That's what it is, but hopefully in the future they visit more. But gas is a really powerful thing. Now, gas has a multiplicative damage against the infested demos. Doesn't have any negative multiplicative. Now, the gas produces gas clouds that deal damage to all enemies within a 3-meter radius for short duration. It's really good because that cloud can actually proc on the headshot. Really good stuff. Now, moving to magnetic. Magnetic has a multiplicative damage against corpus and has a multiplicative damage against the corpus amalgam. Now, you would say here, why they did put like multiplicative damage against corpus? We all know that magnetics takes away the shield. The reason they try to rescue magnetic, as I told you, toxin kills the magnetic and they can't do anything about it, so they try to put a multiplicative damage on the magnetic, hoping they will save the magnetic, but it doesn't. So what they did in here, they switched the magnetic towards overguard. Remember overguard I told you earlier about? Now magnetic is mainly for the overguard to take. That's where you go for. Okay, I hoped here even my hope will not work because the Thrax Centurions, they are not a specific faction. Hopefully they do. They put them in a category of a faction, but in the way I see, they're trying to reduce the factions and like squeeze things. I don't think that will happen. That's why they put the Fortifier Arcane on the secondary weapons. Don't worry about that. Okay. Now, it has a multiplicative negative damage to an armor. Now, the magnetic what does? Increase shield damage by up to 325% with multiple stacks and disables the target shield regeneration for a short duration. When shield or overguard breaks, this is the new rework, deals electricity damage for 3% of enemies max shield or overguard per stack with a forced electricity statue proc. Now, magnetic proccing electricity. Who would have thought? Alright, let's go. Viral damage here, the beloved of all. Now, the viral here will does a multiplicative damage against the Oricane, the corrupted. Every other faction, it will just do normal like you used to do. Okay, now it has a negative multiplicative against infested demos and negative multiplicative against the murmur. Now these enemies doesn't have a high armor and they're really like viral with them, and they're mainly on HP. If they give you multiplicative damage against them, you'll destroy the whole like planet. Okay, you just go like Kamehameha on them. Now, viral increases damage to health up to 325% with multiple stacks for a short duration. Like one of the most powerful, let's say top 3 elements in the game, and DE nightmare. No, viral is DE nightmare. They hate DE. I'm telling you guys, DE hates viral. Really, they won't get rid of it. Corrosive now, the beloved as well. Everyone loves corrosive. Now, it has a multiplicative damage against Grenier, of course, and multiplicative damage against the Kuva Grenier. This is really good because we all know how tanky Grenier are, and we always trying to lower their armor. Now, multiplicative damage against sentient, negative multiplicative damage against sentient. You don't find really much sentience, really, like it's not like you don't encounter them much. Now, the corrosive temporarily remove up to 80% of the target's armor value. Now, of course, with the 2 Emerald Darkon shards, each one giving you 2, you're gonna have like let me show you really quick. In here, let's put Revenant. This one. Emerald Darkon shards increase max stacks of corrosive statues by 2, and this one too, that's 4. Means you will reach 14 stacks of corrosive. That means you totally remove the armor from the targets. Simple as that. And now your main question will be, okay, Hank, we get it all, we learned all, that is, the enemy is weak to something, multiplicatively, like, damage increase, and they are resisting to something negative multiplicative against them. Okay, now Hank, how we mod now? How can we mod the weapons and so on? It's really simple beyond how you think. Okay, let's assume, for example, that we want to fight the Orokin battle group. Alright, so I'm gonna fight Orokin today. So I'm gonna summon level 225 Steel Path Edition Orokins, okay, right there. And now I'll be modding for Orokin. So what I need to know first is that what are they weak to? That's something you need to know. So there is no negative multiplicative here, there is no negative multiplicative here. There is a multiplicative damage against Orokin right here. So I'm modding for viral against the Orokin. Simple as that. And then I keep looking here. There is there is nothing. I should stay away from the radiation against the Orokin. Now, so I don't mod for radiation. Now I keep on in here. There is nothing. So I can even go for blast. I don't mind. And here I go damage to sentience. And here I go, okay, there is nothing. Okay, I can go even toxin against them. No problem. Here I go. Impact. Either nothing, nothing, and nothing. So now I know that I mod for corrosive to remove their armor. And I mod for viral to get that multiplicative damage and do more damage to their health. And I know that I can mod for blast as well. Yes, I can mod for blast as well, so I can get the chain reaction after I proc 10 stacks. So let me quickly put something together here. What I did here, I put convulsion with pestilence. I will have toxin and electricity for the corrosive. Now it will be capped at 10 for 80% armor strip, but I have 2 emerald darkon shards, so I push the stacks to 14, so I armor strip them. That's one. So you will see their HP turning from yellow to red. That's that. Now what I did in here also, I put the multiplicative damage against the Orokin. Okay. Now, what I did also, I put Frostbite and the Primate Heated Charge, okay, for the Blast right here. As you can see here, they don't have a negative multiplicative, and Corrosive doesn't have a negative multiplicative. Now, the Radiation have the negative multiplicative, but that's what the Okukur comes with. I cannot help it, okay? But, of course, you'll be modding a different weapon, but it will not be proccing much of the Radiation. Now, what we're going to do really here is simple, that I'm going to take my Panzerpfeiler for the viral. Here we go. I'm going to take my Panzerpfeiler. Okay. And we go towards these enemies. Alright. Or we can do something else if you don't want the Panzerpfeiler, just so I don't forget. We can take this one, and we're going to have the Nourish to proc viral for us. And luckily we have the Aura and the Arcanes for the pistol. So I'm going to just proc my viral, and then look at this. Alright. As you can see, enemies will be shattered. Alright, so the moment you proc in blast in there, as you can see, you see that chain reaction that was from a blast. Let's summon them again. Boom. And let's go. Charging Okukur. Okay. See, that's the chain reaction from a blast. If you play Okukur, you would understand what is exactly happening right now. Now, I know some of you would say, oh, Hank, why didn't you use the one for Okukur, the Augment, and so on? Guys, this is just showing you how to do the stuff. And now for my final opinion about the status before we move to the armor, as it got reworked as well, that you don't need to panic, because I see a lot of people are panicking. Should we format all our gear and redo everything and stuff? No, not necessarily. Now, for example, the armor is resisting viral damage. So it's negative multiplicative. If I do 1 million damage, it will be 500 only. But they're not resisting the viral effect, which increases the damage to health up to 325%. So what the armor are weak to? Armor are weak to electricity, for example. So if I take viral as an effect statue to prime them with, and then I proc electricity, I will smash them to the ground. As electricity will have a multiplicative damage, and viral, true, I will not do a lot of damage with viral against them, but I will have the effect from viral. So you have to be smart about it in here and how you mod things around. But in conclusion, that if you want to do high damage, you always take either nothing they are resisting you with, or you take something you are doing multiplicative damage with them. Now, you can take, for example, an element, just that element, for example, viral, to the armor and expect you're going to do high numbers with that. Okay? It will not work, because whatever you're going to do, it will be multiplicative negative. Even if you do 1 billion, let's say you do 1 billion against armor, you buff yourself with every single buff in the game. You take Vex armor, Fury from Chroma, you take Roar, you take everything, Jade buff, everything you can imagine, and you do 1 billion damage. It could have been 1 billion and a half. You see the point here? So the point that high damage, you take either what they are not resisting or what they are weak to. Okay? If you want, you can use the element that resisting just for the effect. Why not? Just to be smart about it. And here I will show you an example of what I'm talking about. So we're gonna take the Oma. Oma is like proccing electricity. Everyone knows that. We take melee influence. Now the normal are weak to electricity. We know that. So I will take my Panzer Bafila to proc viral on them, and you will see what I am talking about. So let's summon, for example, the Narmer or the Murmur. There you go. Summoning level 225 with Steel Path Edition. Here we go. Now the Panzer Bafila will start procking viral on them, as you can see. So it's not necessarily the damage that I need on them. Alright, just the effect. You see, the Panzer Bafila is not doing damage to them much, but he's procking viral. You see, because the viral has an effect. It's not just a statue that does damage. So now, I'm going to activate my viral too from my Nourish, and then I'm just going to attack them, and let's see how this works exactly. Getting the point? So that's exactly how you deal with all this kind of stuff. Okay? Simple as that. Let's do them one more time. Go. So what I'm doing here, even the enemies are resisting to my viral. I'm using the viral effect, just the effect, and I'm using the electricity as what they're weak to and what I will be multiplicative damaging them with. So you get the point in here. And also, the Oma doesn't have only these statues, my friend. They have Slash, which is a multiplicative against offensive non-armor, but that doesn't matter because it's not against the Murmur. But they're not tanking my Slash. So my Slash is normal. It will perform normally without additive, without multiplicative damage or negative multiplicative. It's just like in the middle. It's like at 100%, not 150% and not 50%, 100% slash. So it's good to go. So I got slash to slap them with, I got impact to slap them with, I got electricity multiplicative against them, and I got my viral from Nourish, and I'm good to go. Viral, they are tanking, yes, but they don't tank the effect of the viral. Now for the armor rework. Okay, so before, enemies at level 200, heavy gunners, they will have 10,815 armor, which is scary, right? And 97.30% damage reduction. Now, when you see the amount of that armor, you'd be like, what? That's a lot. Oh my god. That's crazy, right? But you need to understand before you fall in this trap of misunderstanding what's things going on. You need to understand how armor works. So, armor here, my friend, reduce damage to health by a certain amount. You start to get it? Okay. So that percentage amount, the more armor you have, the more you will reduce damage to health. So that's called damage resistance. DR. Damage resistance. Now, what DE did here? They take the 10,815 armor and they lower it to 2,700. You would say, oh my god, me too, I did the same reaction. Oh my god, the armor is so weak. Now I slap them with 2 billion damage every single time. Pop, pop, pop. But no, my friend, that's not what they did. What they did is they lowered the armor to 2,700, but they kept the damage reduction the same. The same. So enemies at 2,700 armor reduction, they will have 97.30% damage reduction. Simple as that. So The damage reduction is actually what matters, not the armor. We all know armor sucks in Warframe, and so on. So, but what else they did? They did that the more, like, instead of, for example, 10 stacks of corrosive will lower, for example, to 90%, they lowered it to, for example, to 87. So corrosive lowers the enemy armor more. Okay, so for example, if you use 13 stacks of corrosive, you will get them probably like 99%, okay, or like 98%, something like that. If you use like 14 stacks, they're going to be 100%. The reason they're doing this, so you don't, for example, say, I need to armor strip enemies. But the thing is, yes you do, my friend. Yes you do, 100%. The way I'm gonna show you this is really simple. I'm just gonna use Nyx in here. I'm not gonna use anything, arcanes or whatever, no boosting, nothing, alright? And then I'm not gonna be using any companion, alright? No viral, no progen, no bullying enemies, nothing. And I'm gonna be using the dual toxicist right here, just with toxin and electricity, and I have corrosive. No arcanes, no other mods, no multi-shot, nothing. So corrosive right here, and we're good to go. No Emerald Darkon shards, nothing. So the reason we're gonna do this is to try and check what's the difference between stripping and no stripping. Now, should you strip or should you not? Alright, let's summon Heavy Corrupted Gunners in here. And let's see the biggest, whatever. So, here we go. So, I'm just gonna be hitting this guy, and here we go. We're getting 3. Let's go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, let's go. 10 stacks. As you can see, at 10 stacks, I'm doing 4,230 damage stable. Alright, there we go. 3,800 and so on and so on. So, this is the enemy with the 10 stacks they wanted us to play with. And yeah, this is what they want you to do. Simple as that. With the corrosive. Now, if I come here and I strip this guy, I hope that I could get one stripped, one not stripped near each other's. So you can, okay, here, this is perfect, this is perfect. Okay, so this one is stripped and this one is not stripped. So let's go. Let me reload and let's try this out. Okay, so this one is stripped, 5,000. All right, let's go. 7,000, 7,000, 7,000. Let's go. So this is 100% armor strip. Okay. There you go. And this one, 1,500. Look at that. This one isn't armor stripped. Okay, so this is stripped, 7,000. And this is not stripped, 2,000. Can you see what I'm talking about? Because I've been telling people, you need to armor strip them. They say, no, with the statue effect now, you don't need to. You don't have to. Bro, look the difference right here in front of your eyes. Look at the damage here. And look, I got them near you, both of them. And I'm just going hitting this guy once and hitting this guy once. So you don't see there is a buff for this one and a buff for the other one. There you go. Same weapon. No extra mod, just corrosive. No buffs from anywhere. No companion, no viral stacks, nothing. Look at that. This one stripped and this one not stripped. There you go. So I get it to 10 stacks for you to compare the damage perfectly. There you go. There you go. See that? 4,000 maximum you can get. This one is totally armor stripped. As you can see, 7,000. Now, when you combine that with mods and multi-shot and a lot of shit, things gets way too serious. So in conclusion, armor strip is a must, my friend, and don't listen to anybody that tells you otherwise. What DE was trying to do in here, they try to lower the armor to attract us, but the damage reduction is the same. Armor in Warframe sucks, we already know that. So what they're trying to do is they prevent people from using a lot of armor stripping, because looks like a lot of people complained about, oh, we need to armor strip to play, we need to do that to play. But that's how the game works, and that's how the mechanics. What I hoped for DE to make enemies more tougher and more tanky, or more like, really, we need a new content, to be honest, instead of keep reworking and showing the same thing. I really hope DE start considering to make a new content, stop reworking everything we have right now, leave it the same way it is, or revert it, before the Viri paradox. All right, just revert everything and just start a new content where bosses, dungeons, and stuff like that. That will be more interesting because now DE you have a competition with the first descendant. In case you didn't know. So you need to wake up a bit and really stop showing the old stuff because the community really wants something new. I don't know, guys, you agree with me or not. Everyone have a different opinion, but it is what it is. I really hope from my deep heart that this video helps you out on your, explains to you all the stuff that you need to know about the status rework and the armor rework. I see it's very unnecessary what they did, to be honest. It was okay the way it is, but everyone have a different opinion. I respect yours. Let me know in the comments below. And by this we come to the end of our video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn the bell on to see when I release a video and get a notification about it. Let me know, guys, in the comments below. I expect your comments to tell me what you think and if you find this video helpful. This video is a bit long because it has to. This is a guide, all right? I can't make it any quicker, and if I repeat myself, it's just to make sure everyone understands, and that's a process of learning, and everyone is different in learning, all right? If you learn fast, you cannot expect someone else to learn fast. Everyone has a different capacity. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
I am not a king, I am not a god, I am Hunkpain.